Item number 3, to agree the minutes of the meeting held on the 7th of October, which have been circulated. Are there an accurate record of the meeting, please?
Agree.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Public open session. Nothing from members of the public. There we go, thank you. Item number 4, financial matters. Sorry, 5, financial matters. First item is to agree bank reconciliations and any council payment.
Right, so I've sent those out to everybody, and I've sent out the account to be settled. There are 4 extra ones, 3 which are for St Mark's Church, 1 being office rent, £188.33, and then there are 2 for the whole hire. We hire the small room, £8.40, which is for planning, and £16.80, which is for the parish council meeting in the hall. They were for October. And then there is £645, which is 8 months worth of work on the allotments for Sean Riley for doing his clearance and tidying up and whatever what we get done. That's it.
Okay. Everyone happy to approve those council payments? Everyone happy?
Yep.
Thank you very much. Item number 6, to receive a report from the Borough Councillors. Anything received?
Yes, it came out this evening, I think. And Charlie, I did just check, I went up to the office. He sent it out to all parish councillors, I think, didn't you, about 5:30?
Yeah.
6.
Yeah, thank you, Charlie.
It was a bit of a miracle that we got it done because we've had an Ofsted today, a preschool here, and I don't know if anyone's been through an Ofsted, but they're horrible. But we we got through it, and so the report is attached. I'm happy to take any questions if anyone's got any.
I have put it on the web. Well, I've sent it to be going on the website with Simon. So
I haven't received that. I think I'm online, but I haven't received it, Charlie.
You haven't got it?
No.
it's definitely on the list. I looked.
It'll be entitled Finance for Thursday. It's a reply to the list that Sue sent out.
Okay. Well,
Do you want to send it again, Mark?
please, thank you.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk to your report?
Not unless everyone wants to stay along and they have to. Happy
Okay,
to.
for those who've seen it, are there any questions for Charlie or Wendy?
Now. That's 8th of December,
I've got it now, Charlie.
and that's just to work out priorities for Brickhill. So whether it be drugs or crime or burglary or car thefts or whatever.
Is that going to be the joint one with Harper and
It is with the Paris, yeah.
And Harper as well?
Don't think so, Mark. I think it's just Paris. But that's what Junaid said. But
Okay. That'd be interesting because they have been doing them on a 3-ward basis, but then having separate people for Harper compared to Paris and Brickhill. So,
yeah.
time for that. Anything else for Charlie and Wendy? No. Anything received from the Great Barford Borough Councillors?
No, only what we circulated last time. No, I don't think there's any more of an update than that.
Okay. Right. Thank you very much. So move on to item 7 then. To receive an update with the average speed cameras in Brickhill Drive, and Sue has circulated an email with a plan. Do you want to talk to that, Sue?
Well, I circulated an email with the plan. I think that's about all I know. I presume maybe possibly Charlie knows more than that. Or do we know more than that? I mean, it simply says here's final touch to design. It's proven a very technically challenging design, but we're now able to confirm the attached is feasible, resulting in a 4-camera system. Specific locations may need to be altered if utilities aren't identified on the relative plans that have been designed and based on, but what they've done is design it and base it on the information we've got. We currently anticipate installation to start in February 2022, but this will certainly be completed by the end of March 2022. Once we have an exact installation date, you'll get to be notified of that. So my question was, shall I put that on the website and the social media? I wanted to check before I did. Okay.
And to be clear, the plan shows two separate sections. One from the top part of Brickhill Drive down to Linnet Way roundabout, and one from there down to past the entrance to Pilgrims. So two separate pairs of cameras. That's my reading of the diagram. Yeah. Okay, that's good. Progress. Thank you, Johnny.
Sounds
Stuart.
Can I ask a bit of a technical question? If you're caught doing more than the average from A to B in the middle, but you're okay from B to C, you still get done for that.
You can get all of them.
And if you go back and do it 10 mile an hour more slowly, it doesn't bring the whole thing down.
Especially if you're a parish councillor.
Just checking.
Yeah, the police have been very active. Sorry.
Yeah.
The police have been very active with speed enforcement just in the last couple of weeks. We asked them to do the 20 mile an hour zones, and they've not been done before, but they've done them.
They've done it,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh wow. Interesting.
it's very good.
That's a departure then, isn't it?
It is a departure,
Previous
Mark,
policy,
yes. It is a departure,
which is
yeah.
interesting. Are they just warning people on 20, or are they doing?
No, I
anything
think
more?
Junaid said he was
fine,
he
isn't it?
caught someone who was going quite fast and they'd be in trouble.
Okay.
In a 20. We can ask him when he comes.
Yeah. Any other points to chime in? No. Oh, sorry. This is all throw back on the pass on. Right, that's it. Average speed camera item. We've got progress. March 2022. We'll have the grand ceremonial driving through at a safe speed ceremony. Maybe. Right. Item number 8. Receive an update on the Neighbourhood Development Plan. I have got an update to advise you that we have been given a grant to spend between now and the end of March 2022, and I'm looking to have a 1 hour meeting probably next Tuesday between 10:30 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. It's because of the availability of Dave Chetwin, the consultant. Because of various reasons, he's limited to mornings. And so I'm going to circulate a note, and if anybody wants to come to this meeting, basically to reset the situation, to pick up from where we were at the beginning of last year. With a view of trying to progress at least a few more stages before the end of the current financial year. Is that okay? I'm dropping that down. Right, shall we move on to the next item? Action plan for Brickhill Parish Council. Item number 9. You've circulated a one pager.
Well, yes, well, 2 really, but we've looked at this before. We didn't really. People went away and then nobody really came back with any additional things. So really, before we can reapply for things like our quality status, we do need to have an action plan that's actually in the year that we're working on and into the future. So I didn't know, but some things are longer term projects. So I didn't know if there were things, there may be some things on here we can take out, but there might be things we can add in. So for instance, Woodlands Park, I thought, well, I think we've done the second one, haven't we? I don't think there's much more for the Borough Council. But it's really there to say, is there anything else? I've left Brickhill Community Centre, there's got new toilets upstairs. I didn't know if there's anything on there to put for the future plan.
That's got me thinking.
I don't know whether we want to think about whether it's too early or what, but...
No, it's not.
Oh, is it not? This is
No.
great, then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And the only way that would get brought into Brickhill is through a community government review. And as I have said before, having done two, saying please, we urge you to take us. I think it's yeah.
Okay.
But just to be clear, the way the borough work, they review of an area
Yeah,
until
fine.
you people are in.
I made wrong.
I think we probably need to look at, and it really probably requires Sudesh and Michael, this is Woodlands Park, because I got that email from Sudesh, which that there may be things on there that can add into this list, if you see what I mean, because I've left it as a really general thing. But it may be worth looking through the things Sudesh look and identifying the other things from there you think we should be putting in as a target.
Yeah.
and geography, when actually we didn't know that the borough are also looking. We're sort of working, not exactly alongside, but in, totally separate things,
Yeah.
aren't we? So, I don't know.
Okay.
But if there's anything you can think of that we could bring in, maybe, I don't know.
How much of the outstanding Woodlands Park money is there still?
There's not a huge amount. I think it's about 2,000. I haven't got that, but I can
No.
look at it and bring it out, and then we can actually put it on the
Right.
website through the
Okay.
update.
Let's move on into item number 10, to receive a report on the recent meeting between EWR and parishes on the 19th of October. That's the meeting in Wye Boston. Rich,
I did circulate.
like
that
to?
report.
Yeah.
And you sent a report.
Charlie,
Thank you
when
for doing that.
both present remotely. So I circulated the notes that we made. That was prior to the recording coming out, but they pretty much bears out what was on the recording. It was quite, I think, fractious to start with, on the basis that they've been quite dictatorial about who could and couldn't attend. Basically found a bit, I don't know, a bit confrontations were going to be. But the people that we wanted to present that with the knowledge weren't allowed in the room, so we canned that through a number of their points. They got through basically the start of it. I should probably add, come along and discuss in an open, free and frank exchange. The only reason are not significant enough to warrant a back check. Which I found surprising. They were very woolly about their decision criteria. The 15 decision opportunity to be flexible with what they do in the future, and we've seen it before. But they are very woolly and don't seem to be able to express a firm logic behind how the different 15 criteria were scored in order to come out with the route selection that they did. The other piece that came out was that they have not done any carbon efficiency calculations in the route selection back in 2019, so they don't know which route is the most carbon efficient. They tried to offset that on the basis that they were saying they've got net biodiversity gain on the Oxford stretch, but they're confusing two different disciplines in environmental science there. Right? So biodiversity is very, very different from carbon contribution, and they're again either accidentally or deliberately confusing the issues by bringing those two things together. They simply haven't done the carbon work. Bearing in mind that Bedford declared a climate emergency in 2019 when the consultation took place, I would have thought that is quite a significant change, especially when you look at what's happening at COP26. Back-checking, they said they back-checked for Cambridge, but Bedford wasn't, the changes at Bedford weren't significant enough to warrant that. They basically said the only way that they'd do a back-check was if it was if cost was impacted, but they wouldn't tell us what the current cost calculations are for the Bedford to Cambridge stretch, which seems a bit opaque on their behalf. When you bear in mind that the cost they've currently got for section D, which is Clapham, which is the bit that goes past us, Clapham to the Eversdens, is somewhere between 2 and 2.4 billion. That means they've got to cover the rest of the three sections, so Bedford and the other two sections, Harleston to Holston and Shelford to Cambridge. They've got 1.3 to 1.7 billion in order to come in under their initial number from 2019. We don't think they're going to make that. In fact, we think that the costs just for the Bedford stretch is more than that. But we've got more meetings lined up. We've got another meeting lined up with them which will be on the 23rd of November, to go into more detail about that. What else was there? Yeah, we spoke about the consultation process. I mean, I think in terms of the postcards, everyone in Brickhill got one as far as I know, but some of the parishes, Clapham and Roxton for instance, they've actually done the work on the postcode list that was sent out, and both Clapham and Roxton, only 5% of their residents were on that list, of the residences in their parishes were on the postcard list that got sent out. Clearly 3 of the parishes also got omitted, Clapham, Ravenston, Wilden, from that initial consultee list. There's at least a dozen FOI questions that I know are either late or outstanding. The one about the costs has actually gone to the ICO, and the ICO has agreed that there's grounds for an appeal. Unfortunately, they've got backlogs, so that won't be looked at till at least the end of November. But they have said that there is grounds for an appeal, so we'll see what comes of that. Unless they start to be transparent about the information in subsequent meetings. The only other point was we talked about the engagement with Bedford Borough Council, where there are a number of meetings, at least 8 that we know of, where there's no agenda, minutes or actions between Bedford Borough Council and East West Rail. The outcome was that we asked for a follow-up meeting with the right people from Be Fair. That's going to be on the 23rd, and we asked for a follow-up meeting open to the public. Will Gallagher committed that they are going to be establishing public forums before the new year for people to start to engage face-to-face with them. He did promise to send over details of that, but we're yet to have them. He also promised to send us over information the following day, but we're yet to get that as well. So and that was it really. It was a lot of fun. Charlie, Wendy.
Well, I was going to say the next question is any questions for Mike?
Oh, sorry.
I suppose my question would be: did you learn anything from that?
We learned definitively that they don't. Oh, the one thing I mentioned is freight. Actually. They don't know what the demand for freight will be. They don't know what the national freight strategy will tell them it needs to be. But there will be availability capacity for freight of up to 48 paths per day, so an hour, 1 per hour in each direction. We also learned that they haven't done the carbon piece, but there are still multiple questions that they haven't answered. A lot of them are in writing, and they have written to us to say that they will respond to those that are in writing, but haven't told us when that will be.
Okay. Thank you, Mike, for that, and thank you for the notes circulated as well. Anyone else got any questions for Mike, or any comments?
I think it's worth noting that it is important to get this widest dialogue that you can and involve as many people as you can. I think that's, in my opinion, that's in the interest of East West Rail, that they're able to say that they've engaged with the widest audience. I think everybody wants that to happen.
Yeah, I think that was part of the frustration with people who weren't allowed into the room. Was the feeling was that they were trying to push it down a tick box exercise because it was just elected officials. It wasn't anybody that could go and talk with any degree of knowledge or acumen behind them. I just repeat stuff verbatim. I told you before, John.
Sorry, Martin.
I just repeat stuff verbatim. So I told you before.
The question I would ask Will Gallagher, we'll come on to the next item in a minute, but my thumb around the question is basically what have they done, what are they going to do different because of what's happened over the past year and a half or so? you know, from all the comments and whatever, all the submissions people have made, in what way, if at all, have things changed? You know,
Well,
I'd like to understand that part. really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think Sarah Walker from Clapham made an appeal to them. So Sarah's very experienced in high-level DCO process, and she kind of expressed in a far more articulate and polite manner than I can the disappointment with the process that EWR have gone through in terms of their engagement with the public and actually listening. She referred to it as unidirectional, and actually, you know, she was essentially saying that it was a very poor example of how public engagement should be run, and she'd like to appeal to them as the process moves forward to drive that more positively in a bi-directional manner, and they actually listen, which is what Charles said.
Okay, well, thank you, and it'd be interesting to see the outcome of your future meetings with them.
It will, yeah.
So let's move on to the next item, if that's okay. So this is to receive a report, item 11, receive a report from the AGM of the Bedfordshire Association of Town and Parish Councillors. So Mike, Alistair and I attended a meeting at Henlow last week, I think it was. And as we were just chatting about it earlier, it's a very straightforward business meeting, but then they always have speakers, and we had Will Gallagher again from East West Rail, and he gave his spiel, and then he opened up for questions, and Mike asked questions, and a few other people asked questions. The bits which I wasn't sure what I'd heard him say before was around, he did mention the 10% biodiversity net gain on the existing railway. The only bit they've got so far is obviously between Bicester and the Marmot line. But he said their aim is to achieve net zero carbon from both construction and operation. I wasn't sure if that's a new thing they're now saying.
No, they've been saying that for a while, but
all right. And he does say, he made the comment, they don't want a diesel railway, which is interesting.
He doesn't want a diesel railway.
They don't want a diesel railway.
He doesn't want one.
No, he doesn't. This is Will Gallagher from East West Rail says he doesn't want a diesel railway. He said that.
Good.
And I think we probably weren't in agreement about that.
yeah.
But then I think he also said this, that they are ordering diesel units on the DMUs, on the Bedford on the line before it opens, before it becomes electric. From their perspective, it would be diesel to start with, to get things running, to get things up and running. But the other thing he said at the meeting was around this aspiration that they would be talking about the timeline for the next stages, formal consultation before submitting the DCO. He said preferably the turn of the year or early next year. I think he's talked about. So whether that's down to government, I think, as to whether they'll achieve those dates. But so we have that to look forward to.
He also said, sorry,
Yeah. They're my main notes, I think.
with regard to the traction piece, he also said it's very unlikely that there will be hydrogen on the train, on the line, hydrogen pulled trains on the line.
Because of the gradient, because of the...
Because they couldn't pull a skin off a rice pudding. So.
Yeah.
But he said that when that lady was questioning him about the traction and the environment,
Yeah.
and said that.
So there are a few other
very
councillors.
unlikely to be hydrogen.
Sorry. Yeah, there are other councillors asking questions about it as well from across elsewhere in the county. It wasn't just mine.
But if it's the case that they're not going to run hydrogen and they are going to run electric trains, they need to put the infrastructure in the beginning, not afterwards.
Yeah.
This needs to be up front.
You would have thought so. Yeah.
Well,
They
it's
did,
got,
they haven't got that signed off by Treasury, have they?
no, that's got to happen, hasn't it?
So,
Well, we don't know how much has been signed off by Treasury at all, do we, at the moment?
no.
Because there's very few of these
Well,
projects actually run to budget anyway, do they, Mike?
They wrote on Monday to the Chancellor, EWR, asking for clarification about whether this stretch will be funded or not. And it wasn't a how much, it was a yes or no they were looking for.
It'd be interesting to know how many of these projects have actually, and I know you do a lot of work on the budgets, and I'm not decrying that at all, but it'd be interesting to know how many of these projects are actually delivered in anything resembling the budgets which are first put forward. And if you look at HS2,
you look at their central section. Oh, sorry, the western section.
Yeah.
It was 1.8 billion, and it got delivered for 5.
Yeah.
So even they're way over on their
questions whether they've done
It's just worth reiterating, when I mentioned the formal consultation before the DCO, he mentioned that's in regards to the route alignment. The specific route alignment would be their next announcement.
Yeah, it'd be next year.
So it's within the corridor, which is it 1, 2, 6, whatever, all those different numbers that were being bandied about, or variations thereof. So, okay, so that was that one. We then had a presentation from Rob Calvert about the Queen's Green Canopy, which is basically it's another excuse for planting trees. And in the context of the Her Majesty's Platinum Jubilee, which is next year, and they're advocating planting loads of trees, and they're pointing out there are free trees available, and you can apply for them. And the only thing is you have to work out A, what trees you want to apply for, and you have to somewhere to put them. But otherwise, it was a good thing. More trees.
I thought it was a good presentation. I thought the most interesting thing was he said, "But we've got no budget and we've got no people, so we're asking you to drive it locally."
So Rob Calvert, he used to run the Melbourne Proving Ground years ago. So he's been around all the time. He's the chair of the Marston Vale Trust, and so he's working with the Lord Lieutenant. And he is looking for support from parish councils across the county to get involved with this. Actually, as you say, it's a voluntary thing, and we're all volunteers. So the question is, can we find somewhere that's suitable to put a bunch of trees in for planting any time between now and March? So we're looking for locations. It might be, obviously for us, it would have to be land that we own or manage.
Do we need permissions or anything? What are the practicalities of it?
Well, if it's land under our control, i.e. Waveney Green or the allotments, we can put things in where we want to. If it's not land that we formally manage, you'd have to ask the permission of the landowner, because I don't think you get away with planting a whole load of trees in somebody's field, or even the country park. You'd have to ask the Borough Councillor, for instance.
I think it's important to note that he was saying the objective is about leaving a legacy for future generations. So, it's I think it needs to be something that we can point at if we're going to do it.
Yeah, so it just needs a bit of working out. If you look at the options, I think it's by the Woodland Trust, and the tree packs are available. Obviously, you can always go and buy trees, and there are a whole variety of different types of trees. Depends what your objective is, whether you want trees that give fruit for wildlife or aesthetic type of things. And it's just coming up with the appropriate location and combination of trees. Can we take that away and think about where we might put some trees in? If anyone sees a patch of land which I think is suitable for it, not my garden.
I think the problem we've got is you need to know about trees, don't you? You need some advice about that.
Charlie.
The borough intends this planting season to plant 10,000 trees. And that's in blossom circles and avenues and woodland, looking at the stretch of land which is borough land off Ashmead Road. I'd like to see that happen, extend the country park inwards. but the various projects that I've seen brought forward don't bring very much money to the table. That's the problem that I've got when I look at them. And so if we can find someone who's willing to actually put some money into it, that would be very helpful. Trees for Streets is operating at the moment across the borough, and people are being asked to donate a tree, but that's £350 if you wanted water to be put, perhaps outside your house or something. So it's quite expensive. These trees aren't very cheap. Sorry, Mark.
No, it's fine.
It's okay planting trees, but they need to be wildlife diverse trees. Planting ornamental ones that are non-native are a waste of time. It's things like oak trees and that, what we need, if it's going to be any good for wildlife and that. I know they're slow growing, which is the problem, but that's really what we need to be looking at.
I think if you look at the Woodland Trust website, I think it's the Woodland Trust website, where they have got the different packages, and numbers of trees and different types of trees, you can get some ideas of what would be, perhaps nice to do. I don't think we need professional help on that. It's more, it is pretty based around where, what land is available, and can we then get permission and obviously try and rope in some voluntary support in the community to plant them.
In Brickhill, you saw that, Mark?
Well, from this point of view, it's Brickhill. Because we're Brickhill Parish Council.
Waverley Green's the obvious place, but what I'm saying to you is that you do need to have some advice about what's sensible. There's no point just buying a bunch of trees and sticking them in and then finding that either they're growing too big or they're in the wrong place, or And I know there was an email from the borough asking us if we wanted advice on tree schemes. I can't think who sent that. It could have been via James Lynch. I need to dig it out. I went back and said we'd like that for Waverley Green, but we've heard nothing back. But that would link in possibly with the other.
For instance, the area behind the Green Gym, that's what the Woodlands Park on it.
Could you take out that horrible mess that you've got on Waverley Green with all the overgrown weeds? And replace that with trees, because I'd support that.
Is that the flowers?
Well, it's supposed to be wildflowers, it's just big weeds.
No, they're not. They're wildflowers.
It looks gross.
Right, shall we try and find that? Let's try and find the email from, if it is Mr. Lynch, let's try and find
The council will help on selection of trees and provision of trees if we want. Mind you, it's a little bit late for this season now, probably.
Well, it's only saying October to March, which is
If you can't get hold of them, I mean, we've had to order, planted 100 trees in a fortnight up at the woodland, and we had to order them about 3 months ago.
Oh, really?
And the ones that are coming in are very expensive, so probably looking ahead a bit. That's if we can find them, that's great.
Okay, anything else on this one? Shall we move on? Thank you very much. Right, next item 12, to receive an update on the Christmas tree lights switch on.
Okay, so they're going to be switched on the 9th. I've sorted that out with the borough, getting the lights on the tree in time. We've got Father Christmas turning up from the Lions with his sleigh. Ideally, we would have had the schools, we would have had Scott, and we would have possibly had St Thomas More, but they can't make, those two schools can't make the 9th. But the Lions can't make any other day. So really we need Father Christmas to come, I think. So I'm trying to get Brickhill Primary. I've got a contact who said provisionally they'll do something, so I just really want them to confirm it. Because once it's confirmed, we can publicise it, but until we have it confirmed, we're really left with... so I'm hoping within the next couple of days, into next week, I'll get that confirmation and we can publicise it.
Sorry, what time on the 9th?
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
as it's gone dark.
Yep, it certainly has. Okay, any questions on that one? Everyone happy with that? Thank you. So, item number 13, to receive an update on the resurfacing works on the motor walk play area.
Right, so it's just simply to say that the RPM will get that work done as soon as it can, provided the weather holds. So it won't need to wait till next year.
Okay.
Okay?
Good.
That's it.
Everyone happy with that? Good. And item 14, to agree a date for the meeting of the Finance Parish Group. We normally have a meeting at the end of the year to try and fit one in.
We usually have one, but we can do it on Zoom because it's only an advisory group, so we haven't got quite the hassle we normally have with 20 group. So it's,
Normally it's Catherine.
well it is, the
And
committee, the
Sorry.
group is, isn't it? Mark, Corinne and Catherine. But other people can be involved.
Coming up.
Yeah. I think the problem is if you have too many, it gets too complicated, doesn't it? Too many
Right.
people.
We can.
If I circulate some dates.
Busy in December?
Just obviously what happens then, but yeah, no, it's fine.
I'll probably aim for in the beginning of the first week, maybe, or the second
Yeah.
week in December.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's circulate some dates and see what suits you. Circulate them around.
Yeah.
See. Okay, thank you. Agree meeting dates for 2022.
Well, again, they've been circulated, and I'm assuming we're going to stick with Thursdays. First Thursdays of the month, except for August and December, but every month for planning. If that's okay. I have done
I didn't see your note actually, Sue. Where did you?
Did I send out a supporting note?
I don't recall seeing that.
Supporting what?
Supporting
Dates for next year.
documentation.
Dates for our next.
Yeah, it's on supporting documentation.
I was.
It's at the bottom of it.
Oh, sorry.
It's probably under item 15, maybe.
Yeah.
Could be. Do you know? No, maybe.
Oh, it's just literally. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, just a date.
First Thursday. Does it clash with any? There's no bank holidays. It clashes
It's
with
going to clash, the June one will
It
clash
will,
with the
yeah.
Queen's bank holiday, won't
the
it?
extra Jubilee bank holiday. What date is that?
I didn't, when I said Thursday was bank holiday this one. Is that the 3rd, 4th of June, something like that? 2nd of June? That's the half term week.
What, the Queen's?
So, yeah, because they've moved it from the Monday to the Friday, wasn't it? The bank holiday Monday was moved to the Friday, but apparently there's an extra day in there as well as bank holiday.
Yeah. So we've got the third,
that right?
the 2nd and 3rd of June. You've got the spring bank holiday in the 2nd and Jubilee
On the
on
3rd.
the 3rd.
Yeah.
So
Okay. I mean, for me, obviously, I can't make other Thursdays because I'm tied into something else on every Thursday. But whether we look to have it on a different day, that would depend if the parish council.
Wednesday, 1st of June. Anyone know what dates are for Borough Council yet, for instance?
I should just book them and we'll make them when we can, Mark.
So you suggest going for, what do you say, the Wednesday?
The day before, the 1st of June, or do people want to push it to next week in case people decide to go off for the week? Because they may try and bridge the.
Well,
I can't predict.
But the series, you go to that following Wednesday.
Wednesdays are
Oh,
no problem. It's
yeah.
Thursdays that's my big problem.
Following week then.
So, but the following week, you can't do the Thursday the following week, can you?
No, we talked about Wednesdays, didn't we?
could
Yeah, we
do
did,
Wednesday.
but just to be clear.
No, I can't do
So,
Thursdays.
it's
I'm
the only
tied
Thursday
in.
So should we do? So we could do Wednesday the 8th of June.
It
Yeah.
depends if the hall
We've got an
here is.
exec, Charlie.
Oh, you can't do that Wednesday.
No, well,
We've got an exec.
I don't want everyone to change things just because.
Oh,
we're
right,
out.
sorry, let me apologise. Can I just go back? Should we say 1st of June then?
Right.
1st of
So
June.
is that Wednesday again?
The Wednesday.
Okay.
So it's a day earlier than our usual day.
I'll make a note and drop it to Wednesday because it'll depend if this room's
Yeah.
empty, won't
Yeah,
it?
the booking form's just come out to you. Have you got it?
Yes, I've dropped it back on your desk this afternoon.
You come and see me. Are you in? When are you in next?
Well, I'll come in
Still all
and
have
see
masks in June.
you. I'll send you an email just to
I'm in
say.
tomorrow.
They've been put in your drawer this afternoon.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other problems with any of the other dates? Are we happy with the other dates?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
And
Charlie, there might be one thing.
Correspondence.
Correspondence.
Yeah.
anything to say about correspondence?
I have a great thing to say now.
Right, so in your note, in your additional supporting documentation, you listed out various things that have been sent round.
Mhm.
Okay. And item 17, outstanding matters, anything on that one?
Not really. As I say, I went back to Claire Pigg, who sent that email back in April about various things going on at Woodlands Park. Because at the last meeting, I think it was still mentioned Michael mentioned it, that the ponds were still an issue. Didn't you say you didn't think they'd been cleared? And yet in the original email she sent, it suggested that they had. And the issue of the live belt stand and the signage. So you've seen that email that came back about those various things.
Must have been, I've not been around there to look myself lately, it's just what other people have reported to.
The light
So it
those
looks
ones
actually
out.
has.
Lovely done.
So, but then the other things that we use parish council to think about, obviously in that April email it said, could the parish council consult with residents on woodlands about what they'd like to see on the play areas? Well, obviously nothing's happened, so I did go back to them and say, has the borough consulted with residents? But obviously the answer was no. And then the other thing was benches. I think they're looking at parish council to fund those from that email, that last email. On the 2nd of November I circulated. I also did go to her and ask about the bench for Waveney Green, which would she arrange for that one to put in. Remember we talked about buying an extra bench. So she said that she would. So I can organise that. So I think it'd be an issue of, is the parish council prepared to fund some benches? I don't think you need to decide tonight, so maybe we could, because they haven't got the basically they've got to order the benches, and they've obviously got, there's a time lag, quite a long time lag between benches being ordered now at the minute and getting them.
And would they fund the installation?
What of what?
If you bought a bench, would we pay for a bench?
Well, I think the plan is that they will do the work, but you will probably have to pay for anything that goes with it, is what I understand. Is it something the parish council would be interested in funding, that's benches? I don't know how many you need, certainly one on the walk between the post box and Angelina Court is the obvious one.
Yeah, that's right. I've been asked about that.
Yeah, and we've had emails about that, so that's the obvious one to go for.
We use the funding that we have.
Yeah,
Left.
well,
There isn't much left, but
there's a
Well, if
list.
there's a couple of grand that would pay for them, wouldn't it?
That would pay for one.
Pay for one, yeah.
Sorry, is it £2,000 a bench?
1,400.
Yes. Oh yeah, it is, yeah. Not just any old bench.
No,
That's more than that.
I'll tell you what, I'm underselling myself for the wooden burial ground. My goodness. Bump the prices up tomorrow.
But certainly the one for Waveney Green, I suggested it was one of those wood effect ones. We don't want anything that's wood that requires maintenance. That brings another problem in. Okay. And other than that, no, I don't think there's anything else there.
right, everyone happy with that?
Yeah.
In that case, that's the last item. The date of the next meeting is the 6th of January. So let me again be the first to wish you a very happy Christmas.
How?
Those mince pies were delicious, I have to say.
Thank you very much indeed.